Welcome to Dateline Schools, a presentation of the St. Clair County Regional Educational Service Agency, with your host, Chris Troy.
Every school over the year makes updates during the summertime, and Marysville's no exception. If you've driven by the stadium, you see lots of work going on over there. And to tell us all about it is my special guest, principal from Marysville High School, Phil Gartland. Phil, thanks a lot for being with us today.
Oh, thank you very much.
Phil, what's going on in athletics in Marysville School District?
Yes, if you have driven by, there is quite a project going on out at the stadium. Right now, what we are doing is we are having our track resurfaced and also a new turf put in.
Phil, when do fall sports start here in the league?
The official date for fall sports this year is Monday, August 7th. That's when tryouts will begin and practices can begin.
So once practices start, when does the season start? And I guess the big question is, for those who enjoy football, will the football stadium be done in time?
Yes, absolutely should. It is on schedule, and there'll be a few weeks of practice before we'll host our first game here. But we are looking forward to hosting our first game with the new track and the new turf.
Phil, how many fall sports are there?
Well, what we have this fall is outside. We'll have our football with 3 levels. We'll have a freshman level that's called a JVB. We'll have a JVA that's a typical JV team. And then we'll have our varsity team. We'll have 2 of our boys' soccer teams. We have a varsity and a junior varsity soccer team. We have our girls' swim team will be participating in the fall inside, as well as with 3 levels of volleyball, our varsity, our junior varsity, and our freshman team. Fall is a really busy time here. Our girls' golf will be in full swing over at the golf course, and I hope I didn't leave anybody out on that.
Phil, does the junior high still use the stadium for football games or track meets? Or?
Oh yeah, they will have full use of it for their meets. For their football teams, their track will be using it. And those are the main players that we'll be using from the middle school.
Phil, when putting in a field like that, what are the regulations? Is it Michigan or is it federal? Who sets the standards to the fields?
Yep, and I'm not sure if it's a state or a national test, but with a turf field, they have to pass every year what's called a bounce test, and that essentially just measures the safety of the field, as well as, I guess, the best way I can think to describe it is the sponginess or the amount to absorb an impact on the field. And, of course, with a field each year that it's in use, what's underneath it kind of creating that bounce effect is going to eventually wear down. So that's something before the season is allowed to start for all sports that are going to be played on it. We do have an official come out here and do a test on our field.
And I'm guessing when you talk about a renovation of a field like that, it's not only the field. I mean, if it rains, that water's got to go someplace. So you're probably talking drainage and everything out there, aren't you?
Yep, and I think what we had installed from the previous field, that's still good to go as far as drainage. But, we definitely had, a lot of new protective material put underneath the turf. So it's not like we're just rolling on turf onto the existing field. It is going to be a brand new turf field with, all the safety qualities of a freshly installed field.
And when you talk about safety, AstroTurf, artificial fields, have really come a long way, haven't they? From like the old days at the Silverdome, where it was basically concrete with our AstroTurf rolled over top of it.
Oh, absolutely, especially from that. And then just since our last field was built, the technology that they have, and the main thing is the ability of the material that they're using to absorb an impact. It's great for everybody that's going to be using that field, all the athletes.
Bill, if a taxpayer were to come to you and say, you're putting in this big fancy field, is it better off than just the grass, or how can you justify spending that kind of money?
I would absolutely say it's better than having a grass field. I mean, yes, it is a large investment up front, but with the technology now, with the turf fields, where you can expect to get anywhere between 10 and 15 years out of the field, and then you factor in all the maintenance that you would need on a grass field, all the replacement dirt, the fertilizer, the new seeding, plus the safety issues of a grass field. When it gets muddy, it can get very slippery. If you're still playing and it gets cold out and the ground freezes, That could be a safety issue for kids. So I'm a firm believer that when you factor in the cost as well as safety issues, a turf field is definitely the way to go.
Now, you earlier mentioned about a bounce test. Do turf fields usually respond better than regular grass?
Yes, with regular grass, you're just kind of left to the elements of how that field is going to be. If it's very dry conditions for a long time, the field will be very dusty. It could get very hard. If it's cold out, as I mentioned, it could be very hard. Or if it's muddy, it could be very slick. So, with a grass field, they'll do their best to keep the conditions good. But depending upon the elements, you're kind of at the mercy of that.
Now, artificial fields are really nothing new to the state here in Michigan. I see a lot of high schools with even their ball fields done. Is that something Marysville would ever consider doing if the need was there?
Well, I think what a lot of high schools are doing now, some are artificial baseball fields and turf, and that's always I've thought was interesting. I've seen some. I have not. I'm too old to have played on one because it's kind of a newer phenomenon here, but I have been to some schools where they have artificial turf baseball fields, even the infield with the dirt is artificial, and that's very neat, and in the spring season, that's something that can save them.
Phil, why a new field?
It was definitely getting close to time. The field was put in 2010 with the high school, and the turf fields, they have probably between a 10 and 15-year life, depending upon the amount of use that they get. And our field, is getting close to the end of its life, and the main reason is for safety, to ensure that everybody using the fields, all the athletes, that we keep it as safe as possible. And to do that, it was time to install the new field.
Phil, how many artificial fields are there here in the area?
There are a number. I know that they are becoming more and more common, and simply because, yes, lots of schools, they still have the grass fields, but with the turf, it's just saves so much of the wear and tear on the field. You can play in more difficult conditions, lots of times. With soccer on the field as well as football, if both of those sports can play in rainy events, and when they do, it really does tear up a traditional grass field. But with having the turf, we can play through all of our games if it is inclement weather, other than lightning, and we don't have to worry about rescheduling or anything like that. And it's just a benefit to the school as a whole to have that turf field.
Does a turf field make you more attractive when it comes to maybe playoffs or things like that? Does the High School Athletic Association look and say, getting closer to Thanksgiving time, who knows what the weather's going to be like? So would a field like Marysville's make you a little bit more attractive than a turf field?
Oh, absolutely, and especially when, having a new one. People will hear about that, and I'm sure we'll definitely have some people reaching out for some playoff hostings, or just in general. It's good for like if soccer wants to hold a tournament, a fundraising tournament.
Phil, a new track. That's exciting.
Oh, absolutely, yes. That was it was definitely time for a track as well. And with our track, if you have driven by and seen it, it's a lighter color. We went with a lighter gray for the track, and one big change also is we're moving the finish line so that we're in line with international standards on our track. If you remember previously, the finish line for the track at Marysville High School was at the 50-yard line, and now it'll be, along with the international standards, it'll be along with where our kids will go to participate with most tracks. The ending will be towards the curve of the 100-meter dash. I think this was a great move. Our coaches were all for it, and it'll really prepare our students for, one, the competition that they'll be facing around the area, and then, two, also for our students that go and participate after here in college. This will be the type of setup that they will be working with, and we'll be getting them prepared on right now.
Now, will the field be different for any of your field events, high jump, pole vault, long jump?
Those will mostly be the same. Another good thing that we're doing is that since that track was painted, there are some new changes, like with off exchange lanes for our relay races. The state has kind of changed some of the the lanes and the markings. Instead of having a 3 triangle setup, they've gone to a 2, so we'll be able to update our track with that as well.
Phil, will there be any kind of opening ceremony for the facility, or will it just be the first event, gates are open, oh, look, something's different?
Well, we'll see. I don't want to release any information yet, but they're still working on it. As far as I know, they're on schedule, and I'm looking forward to seeing the completed project as well.
Well, I appreciate your time. It's an exciting time to be in Marysville Athletics, and we look forward to a 2023-24 school year. Thanks again, Phil, for being with us. For Dateline Schools, I'm Chris Troy. Dateline Schools is a presentation of St. Clair County RESA.